Hey there, welcome to LSEA Yoga. My name is Laura, and today is Yin Yoga for Happiness. We're going to be doing Yin Yoga today, which means long-held static poses, and we're going to be doing some breathing to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which means slowing everything down. Happiness begins in rest. So if you're ready, get on your mat, and I'll meet you there. We'll begin today in seated. Now you may need some props today, so if you need to pause the video to go grab a block or a bolster, blankets will do just fine, cushions or pillows, whatever you have handy. There may be some times when you want to support a knee or the side waist in the different poses that we're in. You want to make sure that you're challenged but still comfortable. So if you need to go grab those things, do that now. We'll begin in seated, so grab a cushion. We want to sit up on something and make it something that you can sort of slope down so it's lower in the front than in the back. And what that does is just sort of tilt the pelvis forward. It helps you sit tall. And we're just going to start with a very short meditation. So find a comfortable seat. You can be in simple cross-legged, half lotus, whatever feels best on the knees. Turn the backs of the hands to the knees and close the eyes. And begin to deepen the breath. And we're just taking a moment here to arrive on the mat. So let the breath become deep and slow. And breathe in all dimensions. And that means as the breath fills the lungs, let it fill back to front. So get broad there. Let the ribs go side to side, as well as up and down. So when you breathe, all directions. Spine is long, the crown of the head reaching away from the sit bones. Won't be here too long, just preparing. Palms are open to the sky, ready to receive. You'll slowly open the eyes. You can remove that cushion if you have one. And we're going to begin in a simple squat. So bring the feet about the width of the mat, toes pointed out. Now if this doesn't feel good on the knees, you can change this up and do a forward fold with the knees deeply bent. Okay. If you're coming with me, just squat between the knees are wide, and begin to press the knees out with the elbows. You can stay here with the hands floating out in space. You can bring the hands into prayer and just press the knees away, just sinking down into the hips, and close the eyes. Now again, if this doesn't feel good, be sure to be in that forward fold, hips high. Now from here, I want you to focus on the hips, wherever you're feeling the strongest sensation, which should not be painful. There should be some compression, some sensation. Focus on that, and as you breathe, breathe into the hips. And as you exhale, let that area release. And let's begin a slow, deep breath. And doing that, it may help to count. So we'll do one of those together. Inhaling to the count of 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. And exhale to the count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause. And you may choose to keep doing that, or just focus on deep breaths. And release the hands if they're in prayer. And bring the knees down to the ground. If you're in a forward fold, just kind of come on down to the ground and come sit up on the heels. Shift the hips over to one side and we'll come into deer pose. So that means our legs are in a bit of an S shape. So left foot is folded in front of you. Right foot kind of tucked behind you. Now this can be intense on the knees, so if it is, bring the feet closer to your hips, and that'll relieve some of the pressure. Okay. If this isn't comfortable, feel free to put things under the knees to support them. If the knee behind doesn't feel good, you can stretch that leg long out in front. Right? So find what's comfortable. You want a little bit of a challenge, but nothing painful. If you're a little more open, maybe the feet are a little further away. And again, close the eyes and just feel. Come back to that deep breath. And from here, maybe add a twist. And you can stay right where you are, or maybe start to twist toward the left, placing the right hand on the left knee, turning the torso over toward the left. You could also recline, so you may want to bolster for that. We're turning to the left, and just start to drape over that bolster. Maybe stacking the palms and resting. And what you're looking for is opening in the side waist, in the hip. Today we're focusing very much on the hips. We store a lot of emotion there. So find what works for you and hang out. Deeply breathing, closing the eyes so that you're just feeling. You're not worried about the shape that you're in, you're just feeling. What do I need today? Come back to that slow, deep breath. Inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. Now you're looking for an edge in each one of these poses, meaning You feel a strong sensation, but it's not painful. And if you're not feeling much, adjust the pose so that you intensify the stretch. So for me, I'm just twisting more toward the left, and that brings it more into my side waist. I'm a little muscularly engaged here, but trying not to hold too rigidly. And then when you're ready, come on back to center and we'll take the other side. So mindful of the knees, again, tucking the feet in close. That may help. Supporting them with some of your props if needed. And we're going to twist over toward the right this time. Feel free to recline here. Find your variation that works for you. Closed eyes, deep breaths. When we breathe deep like that, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Rest and digest. And you'll notice that's how sleeping people breathe. Because when you're asleep, you're in full parasympathetic nervous system mode, where your muscles are relaxed and the body can truly rest. And we can activate that when we're awake to cool any kind of stress response that we may be having, which we all have all day, every day in some form. So let that just naturally calm down through those deep, slow breaths. Now adjust your pose as your edge recedes. Reclining onto a bolster or a blanket, or just the floor if that feels good. And then release and come on back to center. Next we'll take butterfly. So bring the bottoms of the feet together, knees out to the side. And make it a long-legged butterfly. So let the heels be kind of far away from the hips. And take a second just to rock back and forth so you can let the hips go out behind you. You can start with the hands behind, and we're just going to tilt forward, the long spine. And we're just looking for a hip opener here, so it doesn't have to be super deep. We don't need our chin on the toes or the heels. We're just leaning into the hips, closing the eyes, and coming back to the breath. Now, when your edge recedes, you can bring your hands forward, still tilting the pelvis forward. Let the breath sound like waves in the ocean. And breathing into the hips. With each breath, let the hips sort of inflate with that. And as you exhale, they deflate. And you might sink a little deeper. Begin to slowly walk the hands back up. Cross the legs in front of you. Come onto all fours. And then scoot the legs back so you can lie down on your stomach. And we'll come into Sphinx pose. So shoulders under, or the elbows under the shoulders. If this is too much of a back bend, feel free to lower down. Maybe stacking the fists and resting the forehead. Sometimes just lying on your stomach is enough, so you can stack the palms and rest down like that. If you're coming into more of a back bend, have those elbows somewhere under the shoulders. They don't have to be right under them. And you don't have to be super muscularly engaged here. We're just letting the pose do its work. So you can sink down into the shoulders if that feels good. You can lift up out of them. If this isn't much, you may want to place a bolster or a block under your elbows. And maybe come up like that. And just sort of let the chest hang in between. But that can be quite intense. So if that doesn't feel good, back up out of it and find your version of the pose. Now close the eyes and again come back to your deep, deep breaths. Now here we're looking for a mild compression in the back. Sensation, but definitely not painful. If your edge recedes, you can find a deeper version of the pose. Now in Yin Yoga, we're working the connective tissue, which increases mobility. But because we're in these poses for a while, it's the opportunity to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the more time we spend in a relaxed state on purpose, we train the brain and the body how to relax on command. So we're in training here, even though we're just hanging out in a mild back bend, breathing deep. Now when you're ready, start to lower down. And we're just going to stack the palms and rest the forehead. Just let the spine neutralize. Now place the hands under the shoulders. Come up onto your knees, so you're on hands and knees. And we're just going to do some cat-cows, just to sort of counterpose that back bend. Now these don't need to be super deep. Just start lifting the hips and the head, and then rounding the spine. Not super deep, not trying to stretch too deep, just counterposing a little bit. Maybe scooting the hips back. Maybe rotating around in a circle. Or the other way. Just to loosen that back up. And then when you're ready, come through into seated and roll down onto your back. Now here we're going to do some twists, so you may want a blanket or a block in order to put under your hips or under your knees. Now bring the knees into the chest and wrap your arms around them, give them a little squeeze. And then we're going to release, let the arms float out into a T shape, sort of over to the left and to the right. Then let the knees fall to the left. And you may want to scoot your hips more toward the center of the mat as you do so. So the knees are stacked, both shoulders on the floor. If both shoulders are not on the floor, so if you've got one floating up like this, place something under the knees so that your shoulders are on the floor. So we don't want to tweak that, okay? So place something underneath there, a pillow or a cushion or a block, so that you can get both shoulders onto the ground. And also you can press your left shoulder into the ground to help the right kind of stay flat. And then look over to the right. Gentle twist. Now, if you're not feeling a whole lot here, you may want to straighten the bottom leg. Grab a hold of that knee with your left hand and pull it across. And that'll intensify the twist. Again, close the eyes. Come back to your deep breaths. And find that deep release in your hip and side waist. As your hip pulls over toward the right, away from your top knee. Now, if you straighten the bottom knee, draw it up to meet your top knee so the knees are stacked. And then on your next inhale, bring the knees back to center. Scoot the hips over toward the left so that they're in the middle of the mat, and then let's take the other side. So drop the knees over toward the right and look left. Now again, if you're left, now this time if your left shoulder is off the earth, place something under your knees so that it can come down. What you're looking for is a nice stretch here in the side waist and the hip. If that doesn't feel like much, straighten that bottom leg and draw the top knee across. Close the eyes and let each breath expand those areas where you feel the most sensation. Inhaling for 4, exhaling for 6. Now if you straighten that bottom leg, draw it up so that both your knees are together, and then come on back to center. Let the legs stretch out in front of you, about the width of the mat, and let the feet flop open. Let the hands flop open, palms to the sky, and close the eyes. Snuggle the shoulders in, get comfortable. Shavasana. Now here you can release the breath. Let it do what it wants. Now you're just here to absorb the work we've just done. And let every muscle relax down. Slowly scanning the body for any tension and release it. Let the earth hold you up. Now, if you're feeling this energy and you need it, stay right here. Stay here as long as you like. And when you're ready, start to bend the knees and place the bottoms of the feet on the floor. Place the hands on the upper thighs. Draw the knees into the chest. Give them a little squeeze. And then roll on up to sit. And find a comfortable seat. Let the backs of the hands come to the knees. Close the eyes. Now in this short practice, we tapped into that place inside that's always peaceful, that's always ready to relax. So we don't have to go find relaxation anywhere other than inside. And the way in is through this yoga. Namaste and aloha.